Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are into our second series of the day. It is going to be Resurgence versus Amplfy, and it is, of course, MLPDotA and Johnxfire. John, one of my favourite openings to see, Amplfy, they'll go ahead and pick up an Enigma, but I've got to ask you, before we talk about the draft, sir, how are you? Apparently not there is how he is. John is either having internet issues or AFK right
I'm
now.
here. I
Hello,
forgot
John.
to turn on. I forgot to turn on my mic. But I'm feeling great, Mike. You know, it's been a good time. The first series to set us off was a pretty good one to start off with. Lots of aggression, lots of posturing around. This time around, we will be watching Amplfy up against Resurgence. Of course, the Singaporean stack, or mainly Singaporean stack, up against the mainly Filipino stack. In fact, I want to say full Filipino stack, but JO is technically Canadian, so a mixed stack still, but mainly Filipino. So should be interesting to see these two teams face off. We have seen Resurgence kind of shift up their roster, of course. Lots of new names and lots of shifting around. They got a couple of players in. Whelp from Hashtag is one of the more welcome additions. On pause one should be interesting to see how he performs. And you see that immediate pickup from Resurgence. They go for that Rubik after seeing the Enigma. Fairly straightforward pick. I'm surprised Amplfy didn't actually ban it out in that first phase. Like, normally when you see that Enigma pickup, first phase, you usually see that preceded by a Rubik ban. And it's not there.
Definitely surprising from Amplfy to not just ban out that counter. And there's the Winter Wyvern as well. So now you've got both counters available against that Enigma. No real way to block the Winter's Curse. Not with the BKB anyway. Of course, you can go for the Lincoln Sphere, but not the item you generally want on the Enigma. And of course, after that Winter's Curse, Rubik will just be able to easily steal that Black Hole off the Enigma. And Amplfy, though, they must have a plan for this, right? Like, they must not be planning to run... That's, you know, not running the draft around that Black Hole, rather the Eidolons, perhaps, coming out from this Enigma. I imagine they already expected Resurgence to pick up those counters as soon as they picked that as a first pick. Though I suppose we'll see what the plan is here from Amplfy. At the very least, they do get to see both the supports of Resurgence come out early, so it's going to certainly help them in the laning stage if they draft against those supports.
It certainly does. And you do have a lot of other things you can pick up to kind of make up for that Enigma. You could go back to that Wraith King combination we see often, just for that great push potential coming out. That is certainly something you can go back to. The support pickups from Resurgence doesn't really fully punish it. The Winter Wyvern is still pretty good, but Winter Wyvern's always good overall. Amplfy does go into the Jakiro, so it does look like we have our support duos from both sides, and you do definitely see an emphasis on the push coming out from Amplfy. That Jakiro and that Enigma, again, just being able to melt those towers early on. The Enigma with the Eidolons, the Jakiro with the, the Flame Breath, the Liquid Fire that does pump out. So we have a way of melting these towers down fast enough from Amplfy. Should be interesting to see if they do draft their courts around that same concept as well.
You imagine they would. I mean, we saw that last game, right? We saw a draft being made up, and it was made to push early, take map control very early on. Unfortunately, it just wasn't the case. We'll see if Amplfy, whether they actually run the draft as it's meant to be, or whether they'll try and drag out the game a bit. Only time will tell. Of course, with these two picks that Amplfy have made as well, like the Enigma and Jakiro, while they do look like supports, either one can actually be running the core role as well. So I suppose that can cause some confusion for Resurgence, assuming Amplfy picks up something strange as their third pick.
10 seconds
Definitely could happen for Amplfy if they do feel pressured to do that. I mean, you can also... you could do that. The core Jakiro, we haven't seen it too often anymore. The core Enigma has been a bit more common, but again, most teams tend to prefer running really greedy jungle Enigma, shafting their pause 5 into basically pause 6, and just trying to win out in the lanes with a really strong offlaner that can compensate for the fact that he's probably going to be alone. So we'll see if Amplfy does go that route. Again, that is the tendency, though. The Enigmas nowadays tends to go in that jungle, just farm up there, get big there, get their fast dominators or fast mechs, and really step into the lane and just get those pushes going. Buy the space for your course afterwards, but it does cost you that early game, first 10 minutes. If Amplfy goes that route, it's not going to be easy.
Well, there's the final ban. That's the Queen of Pain and Morphling being taken off. Resurgence, they'll go after the Lifestealer next. An interesting pick very early on as well. one of the problems with these lifestealer picks, John, is they do tend to get kited around a lot, especially if you do pick up some direct counters. There's a Beastmaster coming out, which is kind of perfect up against that lifestealer, because now you have the Raw to control up that lifestealer, but as well as that, of course, it does suit the push lineup Amplify is trying to go for very nicely as well. And so I kind of question Resurgence's third pick there with the position 1 lifestealer, but I suppose we'll find out why in this fourth pickup.
5 seconds remaining.
But it does certainly leave a lot to be desired here in Amplify. Again, going to be completely open to just counter that lifestealer, get heroes that just kind of kite it around the whole team fight, and make it really hard to actually get any work done.
I do agree with you. Your points are, it's all out there, right? The lifestealer can't really do as much as he'd want with that Beastmaster around. The Rage is not going to do him any favors up against that stun. He is going to have a good time against the Enigma and Jakiro, at the very least in terms of control. He's not going to be held for too long. It is fairly early for your Resurgence. They don't really have anything just yet that is a natural lifestealer vehicle as well. So they're probably going to have to be going for something here that does initiate that way. Perhaps a Centaur coming out. Perhaps something else with that mobility you want, just to make use of that Infest Bomb. It's a pretty pertinent tool, pretty important tool when you pick up that lifestealer. They don't have the best wave clear in the lifestealer, but the Rubik Winter Wyvern, I suppose, can melt those summons quite well, at least early on. Of course, at some point, they are going to be a bit tanky, but you do have that option in your sports. They do take that Tide Hunter, so they have that natural vehicle coming in, but Amplify, they go straight to the Razor. So you have a lot of ways to deal with this lifestealer. He's not going to have a great time. The static link on him, he's basically worthless if you stay around too long, and he has no way to really cancel that out. He doesn't have any innate mobility to get himself out of there. So I like the picks coming out from Amplify. I think it works well against what Resurgence has. And Resurgence now, they've drafted around that lifestealer for the most part. Going to be interesting to see what they pick for their mid. It has to be something that compensates for this weakness.
It's going to be interesting. That Razor pick from Amplify, though, I agree with you. It is a very, very nice pick. And of course, if played correctly, like you already mentioned, it's just going to make this lifestealer useless in those team fights. Useless in the lane pretty much as well, thanks to that static link. So it looks like they probably will put the Razor mid at this rate, or even the safe lane, and put the Beastmaster up against the lifestealer. But we'll see. Still one pick to be made by either side. And I wonder, John, like with Resurgence's draft right now, what do you think they can pick up to turn this around? Because it does feel like they are falling a bit behind with this draft.
I'd say something that can punish these kinds of picks from Amplify. You maybe want something like the last pick OD could work out here. You can definitely melt the Beastmaster and the Razor. The matchup for OD up against Razor doesn't sound like the best, though. Like there definitely is weakness there. So perhaps you go with something that does fit your lifestealer pick just a bit more. Something that can be a natural bomb. The Storm and the Queen of Pain are banned out, but the Ember Spirit's still an option. You don't really have the best stuns coming out from Amplify. You're going to have to waste that Roar on the Ember if you want to really catch him out. So there are ways to play around it as the Ember Spirit. I think that could be a good pick here. It is a pretty good vehicle for the lifestealer as well. The Puck is an option as well. It's in the pool. It really ties up your team fight quite nicely. Just not sure if you're going to want that. It does feel like if you go with a Puck, you're going to lack damage as you go into the late game. Even the mid game at some point, if you see an early pipe coming out, that really does take away a lot of the damage the Puck deals. So I think the best option is going to be that Ember Spirit if it does come out for them. I think you can kind of play around with that. The Razor does screw you over in the lane. Like, that's really the key thing. That Link just does so much against melee heroes. And Ember can play around that in the late game. So the OD's banned out, which would have been nice for Resurgence as well, overall. And Amplify closes out with the Jug. Safe core, nothing too flashy, and, it just ties up a pretty well-rounded draft from Amplify altogether. So, safe last pick coming out for them. Great push potential, great sustain with that Jug. Should be able to allow them to push these early towers quite quick.
I love the way Amplify is drafted. That certainly does feel like they've just got everything they need for this draft to really make it work. Resurgence, though,
5 seconds remaining.
looking okay as well. Plenty of team fight available on their end of things. Still, one more pick to be made. Not much time left either. Only 5 seconds reserve time. They'll go for the Pugner. I mean, it offers the Decrepify up against the Jug, I suppose, so that Omni Slash isn't going to be as scary, assuming you are just alone. It does offer some nice push as well, and some wave clear that they desperately needed. And also does tend to just win out lanes, but apart from that, I still feel like this lifesteal is going to be, you know, if Carl finds a static link in the team fights, sure, you could rely on Death to get a nice Ravage, you could rely on the Pugna to get a lot of damage out, and you could rely on the Rubik and Winter Wyvern to ensure that BDC is being controlled and try and steal that black hole once he throws it out. But apart from that, it does feel like once you've got those BKBs up on Amplfy, I don't see what you can do against them.
That's the main issue here, right? Resurgence, it feels like they've made a lineup of counter picks,
5 seconds
but it doesn't
remaining.
quite mesh together as well as Amplify's does. And it's really not the best response so far. Sure, again, you're going to have that Enigma at the back of your mind every single time because the Rubik can just steal that black hole early on, the Winter Wyvern as well to cancel it out quite well. You have the Pugna to counteract the Juggernaut's Omni Slash, but it just feels like so many things have to come together just perfectly. Whereas Amplify can kind of just play it safe. They don't need to force the big team fights, to be quite frank. Like, they've got so much value from just that Razor and from that Beastmaster that you're not going to be too worried about forcing the 5v5. You can just get the control on the Lifestealer every single time. The Pugna early on might be a bit of a factor if he does get a good start. But again, a fast pipe should counteract that fairly quickly. And you will want the defensive items up on BDZ. But once those are up again, it just boils down to, can Resurgence play against Amplify's draft? Up to a certain point, sure. The big question is that Lifestealer, just picking it up so early with that Razor counter pick, I'm not sure if it's going to do as much as you'd want it to.
Very fair points, John. We are going to go into the game, though. We'll find out the more entertaining way by just watching the game. And it is definitely going to be one of those very entertaining ones. A lot of big abilities to be thrown out and to be stolen as well. Of course, Amplify not looking to drag this game out too long. They're definitely looking to take map control fairly early on. You'd expect at least a tier 1 tower gone by that 10-minute mark. And probably a lot more after that to follow. Though, for the moment, we'll have a quick pause because we do have a bat disconnecting on the Jug. And this is just some good old Southeast Asian Dota pausing going on, John. You love this.
Oh, absolutely. That's a fairly quick reconnect, to be fair to a bot. Like, that's a quick crash out, to be fair. That's impressive.
It certainly is. Not much of a break for us, John, but it doesn't matter. I know how much you enjoy your breaks, but you haven't worked hard enough yet, right? You've got to work a bit harder.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. And again, just looking at these lineups, it's going to be hard. Like, if you see Carl have a great start, if you see him really scale up, get his static link max out fairly quick, maybe get one defensive item or he ults really fast. The big question is going to be, well, can he do the work on the Lifestealer? Is your POS 1 just going to be a liability in this case? I can see a lot of cases where it will be. It's just that static link. You can't play around it. Like, all the magic immunity in the world doesn't matter as long as the Razor gets that jump on you every single time. And it's not going to be too hard for Carl to actually do that. It's fairly straightforward.
30 seconds to battle.
BDZ asking for a high five. Welp not going to give it to him. BDZ gives him the all chat. Very upsetting indeed. No friendly fights going on here between the two. This is all going to be just war. Ryo will join in down at the bot lane on that Beastmaster, so you expect BDZ will probably just rotate to the jungle on the Enigma as per usual. Insidious going to try and go for a bit of a bounty snipe here. Ryo probably going to be able to find it, and he does. A bat will get the other one, so it's a 2-for-2 trade. Nothing too special going on there. A quick tip coming out for Ryo as well. And it looks like Welp will look to punish very early on the Lifestealer. Already chasing down this Beastmaster and his ball, but it looks like both will be fine.
This could be interesting to see. BDZ is going to be showing up in the lane just a bit. Not going straight to the jungle first with his first idol on set, which is fair. The jungle does spawn pretty delayed, so you're going to have to do something for the first half minute. And he is going to be standing around down bot. The issue is, as this lane goes on, if Ryoyer is left alone, I don't think it's going to be an easy time. Again, the Winter Wyvern can lay that harass fairly quick. Welp does do good damage early on. So that is the one weakness from Amplify's draft as well. It's greedy, you're going to have that jungling Enigma, and your offlane's going to struggle.
Yep, certainly so. Of course, looking over to that mid lane, you do see LJ. He's going to be up against Carl on the Razor. And so, for the Pugna, this won't be too hard of a matchup. Again, you do always have the Decrepify available in case you do get static linked and give way too much damage away. And he can stand just from a massive distance anyway, get those last hits off and just use another blast whenever he needs to. So there's not really much concern here for the mid lane. I imagine both will probably just try and trade farm as best as possible.
Yeah, more than likely will end up as that sort of farming lane. Carl should be able to get away with just a bit more. Again, just spamming that static link gives him a bit more to play with.
Top lane, you do see Jo currently in a bit of trouble. Ponlo gonna make the chase on the Rubik. Of course, Jo is there to just support up a bat on that Juggernaut. You do have the Tidehunter being paid by Death. And again, you already have Ponlo there on the Rubik trying to support him. Of course, Death doing a pretty okay job of trying to shut down a bat early on. Only thing is, though, the Anchor Special level 1. Still pretty decent, but not enough to really harass him out of the lane. And a bat, while he has missed a couple last hits, doesn't seem to struggle too much.
Yeah, it's a fairly stable lane. The Jug never enjoys playing up against these heroes that does drop his base damage. The Rubik and the Tide both do that naturally with her spell kit. So a bot, when you leave him alone, he's not going to have a good fun time. Jo has been trying to force movement out from the two heroes, and he has been successful earlier on, but right now they are comfy enough to just at least have the Rubik stand in lane. So Ponlo soaking EXP and slowing down a bot just a bit.
Yeah. It's like bot lane, Ryo's been having a bit of a difficult time on the Beastmaster. And he's doing decently in terms of last hits, but I mean, you talked about it early on, and it was just this lane was always going to be hard for him to do solo. Because every time he gets close, Warp will just throw out the open wounds and get out a few right clicks, and it just does so much damage on that Beastmaster. So he'll probably have to settle for just soaking XP most of the time, especially while those levels go up on Whelp. In fact, looks like he's going to go for a bit of a creep pool here, though. Insidious is already on top of it, as that Winter Wyvern. Not really looking to let him do it for free. Ryo's still going to go for it, but he's going to cop a fair bit of harassment while he's trying to do this.
He doesn't really have a choice. He has to find a way to get himself that stable EXP at the very least, and stacking these waves should help. He is going to drag it down close to BDZ, so that could be a bit dangerous if he does show.
Looks like he'll just pull the lane. He won't go for the double pull. That was just way too dangerous. Looks like BDZ did get spotted out by Insidious and will actually just run around the tree line. Insidious now going to try and clear out those Eidolons. Though does kind of screw up that Splinter Blast, but it's fine. At the very least, BDZ is out of his own jungle. We'll go back to the Dire side. And so 4 minutes in, we still do await that first blood coming out from either side. The closest thing that has come to a first blood is Ryo at that bot lane. Everything else is pretty much just a trading lane between the two teams.
It has been very conservative play in that sense. No one really going for those sure kills, and it is understandable. Your lanes are pretty static overall. Like, both sides do have really static lanes. You're going to be waiting for, at least on Resurgence's side, you're going to be waiting for those level 6s coming out. So the Winter's Curse coming out, the Ravage coming out before you make any sort of moves. And for Amplify, you have a lot to wait for. You have to wait for your Enigma to be ready to push those lanes. It's going to be a while. BDC still turning level 3, waiting for your Jug to get the farm, of course, and probably level 6 from Rio, which is, again, not going to be that fast. We're at 5 minutes in, and he's still at level 3.
It's one of those hard things as well as Ryo. Like, you can't really go to your own jungle because you've got BDZ there. So you got to kind of stick around either in the opposing jungle or the same lane. Now Bat actually top lane. Gonna go after Ponlo on the Rubik with the spin. And Ponlo should be dead here, though he does have lift available and barely survives for the moment. Bat will have to leave him be. And now Jo are going to be in trouble, but he'll salve up. And so Death not able to find the finishing blow on him either. So both supports going to back off for a bit. Both cores just going to go back into the lane and keep farming up.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
As Death gets those levels up in the Tidehunter, it is just going to get gradually harder and harder for a Bat to try and find those last hits in lane. I was going to ask you though on that Tidehunter, right, with Death, The Lifestealer doesn't really have an infest target if you do wish to infest bomb. Do you think Death would, go for a couple defensive items and just rush the blink after, or are we just going to see the standard kind of Tidehunter come out?
I don't reckon you're going to be going for an early blink in this case. It's just that Ravage is a really long cooldown spell, and it doesn't really scale in terms of cooldown as well. So you're going to be trying to get that early advantage while your spells are strong outside of Ravage. And I think that is the move that we are going to be seeing from Death. He's not going to be focusing on that Nyx bomb. For the most part, most teams haven't really focused on that bomb until later on in the game. Unless they have something like the Storm Spirit or Slaughter. Beyond that, they have just kind of run it as a farming core, wait until the Radiance is up, and that's when it comes online.
Mid lane, Insidious going to be in trouble. He does get Maleficent up. Jewel Breath will be there as well, though he does run on top of the cliff. And now Carl actually going to be in a lot of trouble. He avoids the Splinter Blast though, but now the T1 tower. Jo does end up getting the first blood on Insidious. Meanwhile, Carl gets out and finds a regeneration rune to make matters worse. LJ going to keep moving forward on the Pugna. But now he gets stunned up by the Maleficent as well. They're going to move back in. Carl, though, will give up on that kill attempt. He'll just go back towards the creeps. Meanwhile, top lane, a bat falls very low, but that mid lane, John, they started pushing in quite heavily on the side of Amplfy. They rotated 3 heroes down. And so they do find the first blood, and they do some great damage on that tier 1 tower. Luckily for Resurgence, though, they do manage to successfully defend in the end.
Definitely so, although up top they're going to lose a couple of years at least.
Yeah, Death will end up going down. A nice spin from a bat. He will find the kill. That's going to make it so it's much easier for him to farm as well now. Just not having that Tide for another 10 seconds is going to be a real kind of nice time for this Juggernaut.
Definitely so. It's going to be a bit... It could get a bit out of control. You don't really have the best counters to the Jug beyond your supports. At Winter's Curse is going to be the big thing, but Abat so far having a good time. Not as good as a time as Whelp has. He's basically had a free lane. He's going to have a really early Midas relative to what he's built up, and again, if he does get that good time, he's going to have a Radiance sub 20 minutes in, and that's going to be kind of hard to deal with for Amplfy.
Certainly so. And speaking of Ryo, going to be in trouble. Whelp rages up and starts the chase. He does get the open wounds off. You don't have Raw available right now on Ryo, and he's basically just dead. Some nice body blocks coming out from Insidious, and they will find the kill in the end, and that's going to be more gold going to Whelp. Meanwhile, mid lane, Insidious will TP in to try and defend the push that is coming, though Jo has spotted him out on the Jakiro, and now it looks like they look to go in and try to find this kill again on this position 5 Wyvern. Ice Path will connect, but they won't follow up. They'll go back towards that mid-tier 1 tower. And it is now in deny range, and so they're going to try for that deny. It won't be successful though. BDZ does find the final bit of damage necessary, and they will take down that tier 1 tower in the end.
Yeah, and they're making move up top as well. Death.
Ravage being committed by the bat. He already found the spin. He has Omni Slash available as well, I believe. And yeah, he does. He's just going to wait to get away from that creep wave. And well, he wanted to commit it, but the fog not allowing him to. And now he has to run in range once again, though. Carl will be able to take care of it. And now they found Ponlo as well. The poor Rubik just walks in and he'll give another kill away to the side of Amplfy. That's going to make it a 1-4 now. And that is terrible news for Resurgence.
It definitely is. They really have to ride off of the back of Whelp now. He's the only one that has that nice lead up for himself. He's got the farm. He's had a free lane. He's going to be most of the momentum coming out because even a Pugna hasn't really found too much. Like, normally, the Pugnas are the one that applies that lane pressure. You know, they start shoving in the tier 1 with another blast. You don't really see that coming out from LJSL. He doesn't have the farm, and relative to everyone else, he's not had a good time. He's already lost his tier 1 down mid as well, so it's not going to be safe for him to stand by there. And he needs to find a place to really shove in, otherwise you lose momentum on the side of Resurgence.
Well, 10-minute bounty runes will come up. Looks like it'll be a 2-for-2 trade on those bounties. And Amplfy not looking to really make a move yet on Whelp. They're just going to allow him to keep farming up in that lifestealer, so perhaps just feeling confident that they'll be able to deal with him anyway. We do have a pause coming out.
I mean, you've lost so much ground early on, coming out from Resurgence. You had to pop the first Ravage to try to get yourself out, which doesn't work as well. you end up just dying anyway. In fact, you drag your support in to die with you as well. So you are losing a bit of ground here as we approach that early mid-game part now of the game. And you really have to try to find space now as Resurgence. Again, the key thing is making use of your own push coming out with this Pugna. You need to send him down the lane where he can melt a tier 1, and hopefully you snowball from that. You try to find more in the lane. You did manage to take out that tier 1 up top, but it's not really a lane that has been played around with too much from Amplfy at this point.
Certainly hasn't. They are going to link up. Well, but it was only for a second. 28 damage stolen, but that's going to be it. With that whelp, he's going to go down to the jungle, just farm up safely. Of course, with that Midas again, he'll have a very, very quick Radiance coming online. So meanwhile, mid lane, LJ going to start pushing in that mid tier 1 as well with Ponlo on the Rubik. BDZ will rotate over on the Enigma to try and defend with those Eidolons. And now you see Ryo coming in with that Roar. He wants the Pugna, but now a nice lift coming out from Ponlo. Jo will miss the Ice Path in the end, and the Dual Breath as well will not connect. Bit of an unfortunate series of events for the side of Amplfy. They will not find the kill, but they will at the very least manage to defend that tier 1.
I don't think you're going to be too upset as Amplfy in that case. You know, the kill on Rubik would have been nice. It did feel a bit excessive if you're going to pop the Primal Roar for that as well. So, in the end, that does kind of save them one big tool for the team fight. They're going to have to really try to find something. You don't want this spell off cooldown too long. You really want to maximize it for that early game pressure. It looks like they will try hunting down bot. They have some nice vision in the jungle, but they don't feel like going for whelp.
It's not an easy target, that Lifestealer. He is close to that mid lane, so he does have support there. Speaking of that mid lane, they do get the T1 tower now, so it was just left alone by the side of Amplfy. And it looks like they're just going to try and trade that for a bot T1 tower. They should be able to find it as well. Insidious. Ooh, Roar will not come out in time from Ryo, so they can't cancel the TP off. Meanwhile, top lane, a Bat might be in trouble. There are some rotations coming in. Death, he does have Ravage, but doesn't have the mana. Now he will. They've got to find a lift or something like that first, though, and he's going to actually go for a TP attempt, and a Bat looks like he is out safely. So a bit of a wasted rotation coming out from the side of Resurgence. Meanwhile, you lost that bot tier 1 tower to Amplfy, and now they're going for another tier 2 tower very early on. But that's one of those things you can do with this draft.
It definitely is, and you are starting to bleed just a bit more ground from Resurgence. They might even use their Winter Wyvern if you're not careful.
Well, Winter's Curse now being expended. I think they'll just be happy with the fact that it's down. You didn't lose Ryo anyway on the Beastmaster. He just salved himself up. Yeah, they're just going to go all the way to the tier 2. They are doing the exact same thing on the side of Resurgence, and they'll find the tier 2 up at the top lane. So both teams, once again, just trading. And it's just kind of hard to know who this actually ends up favoring in the end, because you imagine Amplfy probably going to be still very happy about this, but you've still got Whelp to worry about on the Lifestealer in the mid-game.
Definitely so. You are still finding ground around the map. In fact, the map control is pretty much the same with both sides. They've both found the same sorts of objectives on each end, and you both pretty much have the same farm progression on certain cores. The one issue is that the Juggernaut is not having as good of a time as a Lifestealer, but again, that's with a fast Midas. You do kind of expect Whelp to really scale up. He is inching closer towards that Radiance, at the very least 1,000 gold away from the Sacred Relic. So once that's up, it should speed up his farm, and again, once that Radiance is up, he's going to be much more active around the map. You might see him roam around with the Infest as well.
Well, they found Insidious again on that Winter Wyvern. He was just hanging around that jungle. Looks like they are going to start just slightly pressuring that tier 3 tower, just with the Beastmaster Boars. Force back a rotation from the side of Resurgence to defend that tier 3. In fact, Raya, he will leave the Boars in the end to do some chip damage. In fact, no, he'll make them follow him. So just forcing the creep wave in, force out that defense. Nobody will actually go down quite yet. They'll let the tier 3 tower take care of it. So Resurgence, continue to have faith in Whelp. Just keep letting him farm up. He's getting close to that Sacred Relic now. Should have it around that 15-minute mark by the looks of it. Maybe just 15 and a half. Though there is a smoke coming out from Amplfy, trying to look for this Lifestealer. They won't be so lucky, however. And now they must realize that Whelp is in their own jungle, but he might just break the smoke on BDZ, and does. 15-minute bounty runes though, you can't really leave them be. BDZ gonna start chasing for Whelp. Drums being popped as well. Whelp's gonna run in the tree line. He does have a TP available, and he'll rage TP. Though there is Aurora available on Ryo. Abat, he has the Omni Slash as well, and Whelp, he gets Black Hole straight away. No infest for you. And I think that is just the right play, right? Like, you don't hold on to the Black Hole in a game like this.
No, definitely not. You find every single thing you can. The action is sparse, so when you get that opportunity for a big target, like that Life Stealer, you just use everything you have and make sure he doesn't come back. And that is rather unfortunate. That's the biggest target on the side of Resurgence. They do lose out quite a fair bit. His timing on that Sacred Relic still isn't going to be that bad. Like, he's just 600 gold away. He's going to have it still at a fairly decent time, but you're probably going to lose your tier 1 up top now.
Now, Ryo going after Insidious. The Ice Path from Jail will not connect, though. Can they find a stun? BDZ will find the Malefice, and now Abat with the spin will be able to take him out, although no. Cold Embrace is there, and BDZ falling low, but they had the mech available. They will find Insidious in the end. The Healing Ward's available from Abat anyway to sustain the HP of Amplfy, and they'll just keep going, I think. Like, you get a tier 1 tower, sure. Do you just go for a tier 2? Why not?
Definitely so. And again, there's nothing stopping this pressure coming out from Amplfy. They do have that great push. We are seeing the Eidolon army really start to build up, and we aren't quite seeing the counter push coming out from Resurgence. They have the tools to clear out those waves fast as well. It's just they aren't bringing the heroes down to bear.
I mean, Death, he has a Blink Dagger up as well on the Tide. So he did opt for that early Blink. But like you said, they're not really coming in to defend. They're just trying to trade towers. Now Ice Path won't connect, but they found the Roar once again on Insidious. They really hate that Winter Wyvern. They want him gone, and Insidious doesn't really have a chance of survival, and he will go down. He didn't have Winter's Curse anyway, but just get him off the board is what the side of Amplfy say, and they'll continue trying to take down that tier 2 tower now. Although no, they'll actually go back and defend their own tier 2, so not willing to trade this time around. Bot lane, though, there will be a defense coming out now from the side of Resurgence. They do try to find at least one. Whelp gonna start chasing Jay on the Jakiro. He may be able to find the open wounds, but no, he'll give up on that as well. So both sides will rotate, save their own tier 2s, but essentially find no punishment out of it.
Yeah, and again, it's a very conservative match. 1 to 8, 17 minutes in. 1k lead for Amplfy so far. It's not that big. And again, they have slowed down quite a fair bit, not really forcing anything out besides objectives, which is understandable, especially for Amplfy. Their draft does focus on those objectives very fast. You have the Beastmaster, you have the Enigma, you have the Jakiro. You really want to melt those towers fast, whereas Resurgence only really have that Pugna for the push. Just relying entirely on that Nether Blast for the most part. And that just means they can't apply as much pressure on the map. They have done a good job of it though. Again, fairly even in map control right now. They're still waiting on that Radiance coming out from Whelp, and that's going to be the key item that does set the pace for Resurgence. Once that Radiance is up, perhaps we'll start seeing the more aggressive plays coming out with that Blink on Death as well. So the Infest Bomb is going to be ready with that Radiance Burn. It's going to be very strong, and it's going to be a very big surprise for Amplfy.
LJ just gets caught out in the opposing jungle, though he does force staff out. Abat spins, the Crepify TP is going to be successful, though. Nice play coming out from the Pugna. That's the Roar on cooldown now for another 75 seconds. The bot lane, Carl, gonna go after Ponlo as well, but doesn't have a way to cancel that Rubik's TP either. So we will remain at a 1 to 8 going into the 19-minute mark now. The Radiance does now come up as well on Whelp, and I suppose with this Radiance up, you'd probably expect an Infest Bomb with Death coming out. He's still holding onto that Ravage. He's going to stick around with Whelp and just wait it out, it looks like.
They will smoke up, and the Infest is there, alright. So they want to reveal that Radiance quite flashy. They will try to make a move. They should be able to see a bot.
You know, they'll run into him, but they might just break the smoke. Does have Spin Omni Slash available. Not going to be the easiest target to go on. They do jump in though, straight onto Carl. Get rid of that Razor. Although, can they? Carl mechs up, but it will not be enough. Ice Path from Jo was a bit too late. Now a bat though, moving back in, almost like he's going to jump them, but the Nether Ward is there from the Pugner. You want to get rid of that first before you do start a team fight. But still, Carl going down is going to be massive for Resurgence now. You did have to commit the Ravage for that, but I suppose it was necessary.
Yeah, it definitely was. It is worthwhile in the end. You managed to take out that Razor, the one key factor in playing against that Life Stealer, of course. So now they know the combination's out. That was the Blink reveal as well for the most part. And Amplfy will have to tread their ground just a bit more carefully. They have to drop a few more wards. Their vision game is a bit sparse, especially compared to the vision game coming out from Resurgence. They should probably step it up just a bit. You do have the Beastmaster with his Wild Hawks, but haven't seen too much of them around the map just yet.
Looks like the Roshan will be the attempt here from Amplfy now. Ryo going to get it started. A bat will join in as well, though they did run into that Roshan pit underneath an observer ward of the Radiant, so Resurgence are going to be aware, and they do have the heroes to try and counter this. Death doesn't have Ravage.
Yeah, they don't have the Ravage, but they do have the Winter's Curse. But Black Hole's also up for Amplfy.
Yeah, but then you've got a Rubik available as well. Though Ponlo is across the map right now, so you're not going to have that steal available. A bat just going to take it by himself. Now the Lifestealer will walk in with that Ancient Prowler. Be very annoying with that as well. Spin will be forced out early on, and now he does bounce out of there. The Midnight Pulse coming out. Whelp is falling low, but he'll go for the Roshan. Now the Ice Path goes in. Death, though, he picked up the Aegis. He stole it off the side of Amplfy. They'll still end up finding Whelp on the Lifestealer. Now Death going to be chased down on that Tidehunter. They want to find their sweet, sweet revenge, though Ryo doesn't have Roar available for this, but Carl will loop around, they'll find the Aegis, and there should be a secondary death coming out for the Tide as well. And so the side of Amplfy finding a hell of a lot out of that Roshan attempt, even though they don't find the Aegis. Death will drag this out as long as possible, but there goes the Omni Slash, and he does end up going down anyway, and that was, I believe that was a 4-man wipe coming out through the Roshan pit if you count the Tidehunter. That's going to make it a 2 to 11 now.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Resurgence. They do get a pretty good Roche fight. It's not the best coming out from them. They steal that Aegis, but it's not in here they really want to steal that Aegis on. And you still lose a lot. You lost your Lifestealer in the middle of all of that fight, and your Pos 1 just kind of drops dead. And Amplfy, again, just finds every single thing they need from there, except for the Aegis. So you are still stuck in a pretty rough spot as Resurgence. You still need to find that perfect team fight. We didn't even see the Black Hole coming out from BDZ. There was no need for it. So he's just going to be holding on to that. He's going to have that tool the next time a team fight breaks out. And that could be a major issue for Resurgence as, you know, if he jumps that back line with his Blink, just catches out the Rubik and the Winter Wyvern, I think you'd be satisfied enough if you force the Ravage out to cancel it. Like, as long as you catch those two supports first.
Oh, certainly so. Looks like he will be going into the Lincoln Sphere as well next, so BDZ going to be trying to avoid that Spell Steal or the Winter's Curse. That's going to be rather annoying for Resurgence to try and deal with in the middle of a team fight. Of course, if he opts for that BKB as well, then you've just got no way to cancel it until that BKB or Lincoln's is broken. Now the mid lane going to be pushed back in from the side of Amplfy. They're going to start roaming towards that Radiant jungle. No heroes here, but there is a T2 tower that is still left up at the top lane, and they are going to go and try and clear that up. You see a Dagon coming out for LJ on the Pugner, but how much use do you think he'll get out of that? I mean, they aren't far ahead at all. I mean, they're behind right now. Generally, the Dagon is something you'd see when they're kind of ahead to really keep up the momentum. But in this case, I'm not 100% sure on that. In fact, Whelp, he's been caught out now. Ryo has the Roar. He waited out the Rage, and now Jo comes in with the follow-up Ice Path, it looks like. He does find it. Midnight Pulse as well, and Carl's there to follow up, and they do find the kill.
Rather unfortunate, like, you know, he's trying to do the right thing here. He's going on the parts of the map where he knows the enemy heroes aren't at. He just gets spotted out. One wrong move. Unlucky for him, and he gets punished for trying to work the map to his advantage. So he's not going to be around, unfortunately enough, and that is, again, another clean pickup for Amplfy. They might find one more.
Yeah, Ponlo in a bit of an awkward position himself. The Maleficus was there. Now the Ice Path comes in from Jo once again. That's going to make it a 2 to 13 now. 24 minutes in. And Still, Resurgence do manage to hold on to the game, of course. They aren't anywhere near out of it, but it is starting to look pretty darn grim for them. As that tier 2 mid tower going to be going down as well, and that's the final outer tower that they have left. And there will be no defense for it either.
Yeah, this is worrisome for the side of Resurgence. They've lost the entire map. Their draft really is focused around counterplay, and that's the one issue, right? They're not drafting to their strengths. They're drafting to the weakness of Amplfy, but, you know, when that team fight, when the black holes aren't coming out from BDZ, the counter picks of the Rubik and Winter Wyvern don't seem to be helping your cause at all. They're just kind of dead weight. Whereas Amplfy, sure, but at that black hole, the Enigma is not doing his part in team fights too much, but he still has the Eidolons, he still has the Malefice, and he still has that Midnight Pulse to spread the damage around. So he's still doing something, whereas your draft, again, is riding around that concept of counterplay, which isn't happening because Amplfy is just not playing. They really aren't just not playing around that black hole too much.
Definitely aren't. There's one thing Underlords has taught me, John, is that Midnight Pulse is overpowered and always should be committed in those team fights, and it has been doing a lot of damage, especially to that lifestealer. Well, he does smoke up with his team now. Death kind of breaks his own smoke to D-Ward. So they kind of give up on this smoke rotation. Still had a bit of time left, but just looked like they had no idea where they were going with it. And so Resurgence perhaps going to be just trying to set up for the high ground defense that's here to come sooner or later. I imagine Amplfy probably going to wait for the next Roshan as well before they do opt to go for that high ground attempt. And so you do have a bit of downtime for Resurgence to try and get that farm up and make all the difference in the next team fight. And Whelp certainly has been doing that on the lifestealer now. He does finish up the Sergeant Yasha. Still though, again, Whelp is the only one that's really leading the charge for his team. Sure, you've got the Pugner there, but he really doesn't seem to have the survivability right now in those team fights to actually last long enough. And Whelp, again, is just getting kited around and static linked immediately, so there's really not much he can do.
It's just down to that drafting style. Again, they went for a draft that isn't active, it's react. And there's nothing to react to. Amplfy is just not doing what you'd want them to do with this lineup. They're not forcing out team fights, they're split pushing. They're not dropping the black holes, they're just stunning you up and finding every single target they want. They're not even static linking the lifestealer in these big team fights. You know, they're just not having to do that. And when they're not doing that, you can't counterplay as well. Your lineup is made specifically to counteract that black hole initiation, which just hasn't happened. It's made to counteract the Razor linking your lifestealer every single time, which still hasn't happened as well. So again, it's just Resurgence not managing to work this draft out quite well. They need to find a way to force that out from Amplfy. They need to find space in the map somehow. Perhaps re-itemize on LJSL. I don't think the Dagon's doing him any favors. Like, sure, he could build up to Dagon 5. That's 800 damage. Great. Doesn't feel like it's going to be enough. You have the pipe up on Razor as well, so a lot of his damage is mitigated already.
Certainly is.
I mean, you take a look at Death's item build-up as well. He has a Desolator. He's going for a Crystallis into a Daedalus and a Medallion at some point. So he's going all in on that Gush minus armor, which is interesting, but this is really not the typical Tide build, and it does tell you about the state of the times. They know they lack damage. They know they lack physical damage. The Pugna can't build that way, but the Tide kind of can.
Well, with that Anchor Smash, he can dish out a hell of a lot. Mid lane though, Jo going to be in trouble. BDZ is around the area and they can't even take out the Jakiro at this rate. Of course, they do opt to back out just in case he had support behind him, which he did. So it was actually a good back there from Resurgence, but not great signs if it's this hard to kill a Jakiro. At the very least, again, Amplfy are going to take their sweet time. The Roshan is still not up, and we'll find out in about 5 seconds when it will be up. And it looks like a 2.5 minute timer on the Roshan. So another 2.5 minutes to try and get that farm up as much as possible. Resurgence, I don't think they can allow the side of Amplfy to just go for that Roshan by themselves. I don't think you can afford to wait for the high ground defense. I think you have to go for that Roshan counter straight away Otherwise, you're fighting to an Aegis cheese with a lineup that you're 5k net worth behind already in. It's just not going to be the greatest of high-ground defenses, I don't see it.
It definitely isn't going to be. A nice scan does spot out that rotation from Amplify, but Death is still in the area.
He
Pops
wants
the
that
smoke.
30-minute bounty rune. He'll blink out just in the nick of time. Meanwhile, mid lane, Ryo, he does end up finding once again Insidious on that Winter Wyvern. The poor man, he's just been trying to support his team, John, but he gets roared every time they see him.
He's not had a good time. Like, 0 to 5, 1 assist. It's just rough, right? You only have 2 kills on Resurgence anyway. We're at 30 minutes, and like, it's stuck at 2 to 4. This lineup from Resurgence again just slowly dropping off. Perhaps Death's carry. Oh god, he spotted out.
Yeah,
Keep his home.
BDZ. He thought about, I swear he thought about that blind black hole, but it definitely was better off just leaving it. Honlo goes down on the east side jungle of the Dire. Carl will just find him on the Rubik and easily takes him out. That'll make it a 2 to 15 now. Roshan will be spawning up in about 1 minute from now as well. Very least, you do have a Basher coming out now on Whelp, so that's another item on the Lifestealer. Is it going to be enough? Is it going to be a completely different story?
I mean, the one thing you could be waiting for if you are Resurgence is maybe a level 25 is coming out. Like, the level 25 on Lifestealer is pretty big. That rage duration does tend to turn games around. They do smoke up. Perhaps they can get a good jump here on a bot. That's going to be big.
They're trying to scout out, see if anyone's there. They'll find Carl. That's another nice target if they want it. And Carl kind of just hanging around the area, but not really running across the river, although now he does, but they're not in position to jump him. You've also got to be wary, right? Carl, he does have that 10-second BKB charge, so you don't want to waste that Ravage jumping in. He just BKBs up and avoids everything anyway. So again, both teams going to slow play this a bit. Roshan is completely up now, and I believe it was scouted by Amplfy. Of course, the Beastmaster Hawk was in the Roshan pit. But they will hold out for the moment. They're not going to rush there.
They invest on Death again.
They're going to jump in. A bat. They pick up the
Okay.
regeneration rune on a bat, and well, the spin was very nice from a bat preemptively being used up, and yeah, they just won't follow up on it. Carl now going to move in. They found Ponlo once again on the Rubik. He does Glimmer Cape, but he is still going to end up dying. And perhaps with that Rubik down, at least try and force the buyback, go into that Roshan pit, and force a fight here with Resurgence.
Yeah, it's going to be fairly straightforward for Amplify again. They don't have the Infest Bomb up for another 15 seconds from Whelp, so they're going to have to walk in slowly. We do have the tool. I'm sure Amplify is aware of it.
I mean, they're aware. They do buy back. They are making their way in. They do smoke up Whelp. He hasn't infested, but they're going to jump in. A nice Ravage goes out. Is it enough, though? The Ice Path was dropped the bat. He gets the Omni off as well. The Roshan falling low, and the Aegis is picked up by Carl. Meanwhile, they will end up losing BDZ at the very least, and now the Winter's Curse comes out. Ryo immediately roaring up that Winter Wyvern. Insidious going to end up dropping. Meanwhile, they do end up losing LJ as well on the Pugna. Cold Embrace not going to save this Winter Wyvern. He goes down. It's a 3-for-1 trade. A buyback comes out from BDZ, but it looks like they might even find Whelp. He has the Black Hole available. He just doesn't have the blink up right now. He needs another 8 seconds. But it looks like he'll hold on to the Black Hole, and they'll start running down mid lane instead.
Yeah, this is going to be a good opening for them to take that high ground. They have the Enigma as well. They forced the buybacks from this course, but there's no Winter's Curse for 40 seconds. There's no Ravage for 100.
Yeah, I don't blame Amplify for they just keep going. There's no need to back off. At least get the T3 tower, and now Carl, he still has the Aegis, and we'll go to the front lines to try and take down that Nether Ward. Whelp, though, going to jump in with Death, though it's not enough. The static link is there. Now a bat, though. He's going to be in trouble. He doesn't have a way out, though. He's going to man-fight this as best as he can. He does go down, and they've lost the Aegis as well on Carl. BDZ, he still has the Black Hole available, but he doesn't commit it. Carl will BKB up, and actually cancels the TP off. They do get the bash off now on the Razor. He definitely could be a bait. Death still moving on to Carl. They're going to try and take down that Enigma, but there's the Midnight Pulse, and now they do jump in with the Roar straight on that Lifestealer. Meanwhile, LJ falling very low on the Pugna. He doesn't want to die back right now, but he has no choice in the matter. Does go down, And the bait was definitely Lane. Now Insidious, of course, their favorite target. Ryo going to go for him, though no. Carl going to be controlled up. A nice raw steal there from the Rubik for death. Can he get the job done with Whelp? Not quite. The black hole does come out. Ponlo, though, he did steal it, and he will turn it around on BDZ and Carl. And so they do end up going way too far on the side of Amplfy. They find Jo as well on the Jakiro. And you kind of saw it coming. The black hole was nice from BDZ, but there was a Rubik standing on top of the cliff waiting for the perfect moment. He knew it was coming out. And Amplfy, if they had backed off about 30 seconds earlier, John, they would have been very happy, but now they just gave a 5k gold swing away.
Yeah, that's massive for Resurgence. Sure, they had to commit a couple of buybacks for that, but that was what you were waiting for this entire time. And that's where the counterplay, the reactive draft, starts coming into play. They managed to get that ideal situation for the draft. They steal that black hole, they turn it around, they find some good kills, they get the Aegis as well. They're really happy. They lost the tier 3, but that's it. Their barracks are fairly safe. They managed to take a tier 2 as well. And suddenly it's feeling a bit more even, despite the kill board not saying so. 7-20 now, 36 minutes in, 4k lead for Amplfy, and they really lost some momentum from that. You saw BDZ, he was trying to be patient. He waited a very long time to get that black hole off. He had his BKB running while he was just walking around finding a perfect position. And they saw that Rubik earlier. They just saw him down there and they knew he walked up. They still went for that black hole. It's just a strange decision coming out. Perhaps they thought that the stolen black hole wouldn't be a factor, but it's always going to be a factor in those tight spots, and it does cost them in the end. Cost them massively.
It certainly does. With that, you look at that win probability, it was about that 80% mark, maybe even further for the side of Amplfy, but now going below that 75% mark. In fact, they are at that 70% point now, so Amplfy is still in the lead, definitely by far, but a couple more moments like that and suddenly Resurgence are going to look a lot more scary. Whelp has really started growing quite a lot on this lifesteal. Top of the net worth board once again at 22k. He has the AC up, he has the Basher up, and he's going into that Abyssal Blade up next. I suppose we'll see, because you know Amplfy, they're probably not going to go for another high ground attempt until they have another Aegis. Of course, Resurgence not looking to make it that easy, though. They will probably try to go for another steal attempt. I do wonder, like, how much longer can Resurgence drag this out? Because it does start to feel like the later this goes, perhaps the better the chances get for Resurgence.
It does feel that way again. When you take a look at that Lifestealer, when he hits his 25, that's +2, those +2 seconds on a rage. We've seen that make all the difference in these team fights. Like, even if he pops it and gets roared in the end, he's going to have 4 extra seconds where he's still magic immune. And that's going to be massive. That's enough time for him to get the infest off, if ever. That's enough time for him to really get work done with his hero, and that is going to be a bit of a worry for Amplfy. They're going to have to find a way to keep that control on the Lifestealer without having anything big cancelled out. So you don't want that black hole being stolen again. You don't want it being blocked out by the Winter's Curse. You still don't have that Lincoln Sphere on BDZ. He is trying to work his way towards it, but the gold isn't really coming in as much. He does have that talent up. He's had it for a while. It's just still not quite there, and I don't think you're going to be comfy getting that black hole off without that Lincolns at this point in the game.
Resurgence now going to group up and go for a smoke. The ice scan is there, and they're actually going to walk into it. In fact, no, that was a Radiant scan coming out, so they're fine. Carl, Ponlo going to run into him, and now the black hole, although he does completely whiff it, and now they jump in. Ryo goes straight after the Wyvern once again, though she does get below that hill. Now BDZ, he can actually use his black hole, but he's still scared it'll get stolen. At the very least, it'll be on cooldown for Ponlo. They do end up finding LJ on the Pugna. That was a bit of a shame from Ponlo. He was it just felt like a centimeter off getting Carl within it. Even if he had, though, you had Ryo there to cancel it off with the roar anyway.
Yeah, that was fairly close. He does swap out the black hole as well. Ponlo opted to steal the plasma field so he can get a push going for himself elsewhere. But that was a bit of a waste. He had that black hole, he was just waiting for its cooldown to be off. He tries to use it, doesn't work out, and that's an opening that Amplfy can kind of abuse. they still are probably just going to wait for that Lincoln Sphere. So the gold is almost there for BDZ. I believe he's just about 300 gold off, it looks like. And once that's up, he is going to be a bit more confident. You only really need to catch one of the supports in, and it's either going to be the Winter Wyvern or the Rubik. I think you want that Winter Wyvern more, simply because the Winter's Curse is much bigger, at least in terms of really interrupting the flow of a fight. The Rubik you can kind of play around with, and wow, Pondlo just goes deep trying to split push.
Yeah, and he will get away with it as well. He TP's out just in the nick of time. Does force out those rotations from the side of Amplfy. Meanwhile, Ryo preemptively getting ready for a Roshan attempt, though it isn't at least going to be 45 seconds from now. That's just to find out when it does respawn. Meanwhile, John, Death on the Tidehunter starting to get pretty big. He has the Daedalus up now, so those crits going to be doing a lot more damage.
He got the plus 250 damage talent as well. So
you can't underestimate it, John. With the Anchor Smash, it is a lot of damage.
That is ridiculous. This might actually be it. This might actually be the answer to Resurgence's woes. Again, they lack damage. They just really lack the damage physically on the Lifestealer even. But with Death building up this way, I think this is all they need. He does need a bit more durability. It doesn't feel like he is tanky enough. But the damage is definitely there for Resurgence now. They just need to find that opportunity to use that damage.
We've got another 2-minute respawn time on the Roshan now. Amplify gonna start pushing in the mid lane. Jo, Ice Path does not connect onto Whelp. So they'll back off once again. They can't find an easy pick. Meanwhile, Ponlo once again just pushing out the lanes by himself on the Rubik and being really frustrating. It's not too often you see a Rubik push out lanes this often to this efficiency, but he has really been doing a great job. And this will probably force Amplify again to back off and defend their own tier 3 tower down at the bot lane.
It's down to that stolen plasma field that just really allows him to push out these lanes quite effectively, and he has been making good work of that. Just really, really good work. He doesn't even have any way of switching out these lanes quite well. He has to walk across the map or TP to a fairly far spot. But he has been forcing reactions out from Amplify, and that just means Amplify can't do every single thing they want. They always have to send a support back, clear out the waves, and Ponlo just keeps doing this as well. It does keep us in that stalemate a bit longer, but again, Resurgence is starting to be at that point where you're kind of worried about Amplify. You have 25 on Death, you have 25 on Whelp as well. So they've got the tools they need to really take control in these fights. You don't even have 25 yet on Abbat for Amplify's side, so his last talent isn't up yet. The Omni slash or HP talent's not going to be there for a bit longer, still a fair bit away in terms of EXP. And it's just a bit of a waiting game. It really is. They've just really slowed down. No one wants to commit anything. They're pretty happy just farming for 42 minutes. 7 to 21, 9k network lead. I have to tell you, Mike, this doesn't feel like a Southeast Asian game.
No, it certainly doesn't, John. Win probability, though, is still sitting around 76% for Amplify. So definitely feeling confident in this Dire side, at least for the moment. They do have a 9k net worth lead as well. And the Roshan is about to respawn in about 5 seconds, and they are in position to go ahead and take it. Jo looks like he'll be there to make sure that bot lane doesn't push in any further so they can take that Roshan in peace. But they haven't really scattered it out yet. And again, Resurgence, they can't really afford to just allow it to go down. So you'd expect an immediate rotation to that Roshan pit if they see Amplify missing. Carl, one more final push in the mid lane before he does rotate over there as well. Abat's already gotten started on that Jug, and that is going to be the Aghanim's upgrade coming out in the Roshan as well. Who do you give it to, though? Do you wonder? Like, do you give it to the Beastmaster? Do you just give it to the Jug?
I'd say Jug is one of the things. Again, just having that Omni slash availability up is going to be big. Ooh, they popped the Lincolnson. BDZ BKB.
That's not good news. That was his 10-second charge. In fact, it was his 9-second, and now the Ravage comes in. They didn't get BDZ, but they found Ryo, and now Abat, still BKB'd himself. Going to go for the Omni Slate on that lifesteal. The damage, is it there? Not quite. He is being healed up by LJ. Whelp still being chased down, though. He really wants that kill. Abat going to spin his way to win. He will get LJ, and now Whelp's still going to be in a lot of trouble on this lifesteal. The nice lift comes out. BDZ won't know where the Lifestealer went. We'll leave him be. They'll move back into the Roshan pit. Even a regeneration rune going to be there for a bat. So I wonder, do Resurgence make it in time to defend this Roshan once again? It looks like the answer is probably going to be a no.
They don't have a Ravage up. It's going to be a hard defense. Even the Winter's Curse is down for at least half a minute. So you're going to have to give away this rush. It's a good attempt. 1-for-1 trade, but still not what you want. And you do see the tools being picked up now by the side of Amplfy. Although...
well, that's just the Abyssal. Carl just static linking his way. Now Shiver's Guard as well as the Plasma Film. They do find the Winter Wyvern a bat. We'll go ahead and take him out. Meanwhile, Carl still making the chase onto the Lifestealer, though he's fine. So a 14k net worth lead now. A bat will be the one with the Aegis and the cheese for that matter. The Aghanim Scepter, though, is going to be on nobody right now. I don't see the upgrade.
It's
on the Razor. Never mind. Carl's got it.
Yeah. So he's going to be able to push a bit harder, of course, with his ultimate up. And they do manage to take the first racks in 46 minutes in. 8-23. They forced a buyback from the Winter Wyvern as well. Insidious, it's a bit too late, but does look like they do force the push back from Amplfy. They're not going to commit as hard, or will they?
Looks like they'll go up top, though. Ponlo will start off with the lift, and now Welp going to move in as well. Abyssal Blade is there, but BKB comes out, but the bashes aren't going to be very nice to Carl, but he'll turn around with the static link. At the very least, you know the BKB's down. Carl does have a cheese anyway, though, and a Satanic for that matter. And they are going to go after that melee barracks in the mid lane, it looks like, though. And Carl needs some help. The rest of his team kind of backing off a bit. BDZ actually going to pick up a Shadow Blade now. So feeling like he really needs to sneak his way in for those black holes. I suppose that is fair enough.
It definitely is. He's had a hard time finding those ideal targets, and it's down to Resurgence's pretty good spacing in these teamfights. They certainly have spread himself out quite well, especially with their supports. So he's always wondered about the backline. He hasn't really dropped too many black holes. I think he's only dropped 2 or 3 over the course of the game. And that's, again, down to the threat coming out from Resurgence. So pretty well played from them to force that kind of movement out. And it does take away a lot of the strength in the team fights for Amplfy. You do start to wonder again, the Ravage is up for Resurgence. They have the damage on the Tide. Do they go outside their base or just wait for the high ground?
I mean, they're 24k net worth behind, though. Like, I think that's the main problem, right? Is like, you've got all this farm on the Lifestealer, but that's really it. Every other core on Amplfy is so much more farmed than anyone else on the map. You're going to start moving in once again, Amplfy. Ryo has the Roar, looking for a target. Well, would be a very nice one to get, but they've got to be careful of that Winter's Curse. And Ponlo does have the Aghanim, so he can steal the Black Hole quite quickly, quite often. Carl, just with the ulti, trying to get the job done. Meanwhile, a bat did get stunned up by Welp, though. He does just back off. Now Carl going to move his way in. Again, they do have Ravage available on Death, though he does hold out for the moment. Now Carl, open woods are there. They jump in with the Anchor Smash. The BKB and Cheese is being committed. An Omni Slash on Insidious, but he had the Decrepify placed on him, and now the Roar comes out as well. They really don't like this Wyvern, though another Decrepify comes out. This time around, a bat will spin. Meanwhile, Carl is going to man-fight up against Wolf, but here comes Death. He does get the Ravage off as well. You do have BDZ in the backlines to help out if necessary. He does have the Black Hole, but he still doesn't commit it. They do get Carl on the Razor, and now they'll find another in Ryo on the Beastmaster. You see a bat kind of been left alone. He'll go for the spin TP play and should make it out. BDZ, though, not going to be so lucky. He does get Ice Path by Ponlo, and 1.3k crit. Death will find a triple kill. And I told you, John, don't laugh at this build. It does work.
It does work. It's still funny. I mean, that's not, if you don't think that a 1.3k crit coming out from Anchor Smash is hilarious, then I think you have to get yourself checked. But this is really starting to work in favor of Resurgence. That hesitation from BDZ is costing them every single time. He's worried about that stolen black hole, and even if it doesn't come out, it's still working out for Resurgence. They're not stealing that black hole, but the fights for Amplfy are falling apart. You have the tools now in Resurgence again to take these fights, and 11-23, 15k net worth lead for Amplfy. It feels like it's all for naught when you're when your Enigma is just not doing it, when 21k of that net worth on your team is just not doing any work right now.
Well, they're going to go after that tier 3 tower in the mid lane, and Wilp will easily claim it. And now the racks as well. They do take these rather quick, and the side of Amplfy just not willing to buy back right now. Bat going to jump in by himself. Doesn't have the Omni and does get bashed. Still, the Abyssal is available on Wilp if he wants to commit it. And now the Ice Path, he's in trouble. He's gone. He does have buyback available, though Jo also going to be in trouble. Is anyone going to buy back? Jo will. Now a Bat will also commit his own buyback, and that may force back the side of Resurgence. Though suddenly, John, they were 24k ahead. Now only 6k ahead on the side of Amplfy. That is a hell of a lot of gold going to the way of Resurgence. And that problem they had before with that net worth just suddenly gone.
Yeah, it definitely is. And you have really tapered off now as Amplfy. You're pretty much 6, hell, even 7 slotted on Carl. He has no real upward mobility anymore, except maybe swapping out that Sanjin Yasha, or even swapping out his boots. Your Juggernaut as well, he still has to finish that Butterfly up fairly close to it. So once that's up, he's probably going to be slotted up as well. Unless he's going to look to exchange his exchange his phase boots, or pick up an Aghanims for himself and eat that, synthesize it for himself, buff himself up with it. That could be something that helps them out as well. They did go for the 600 HP talent on a bot. So, even with that Ags, you're not going to see as much coming out from that Omni Slash, unfortunately enough. But, this does give him the chance to man fight a bit more. It's just that at this point, the Lifestealer, and especially the Tidehunter, feel like they man fight much better. They just do a lot more damage than the Jug. They've scaled up a bit more. I mean, right now, a bot just does 157 plus 116, so around 270 damage at best, and it just doesn't compare, especially when you look at Death, and he does around 534 damage per right click. He has the refresh now as well, so all the control in the world is now on Resurgence's side, and they're not afraid to use it. Whereas Amplfy, they have that black hole, they can't use it.
They don't smoke up yet on the side of Resurgence. They hold out. In fact, they don't even have a smoke available right now. Still, the Infest did come out onto Death, so he's just going to sit in the watermelon, just chill out a bit. Meanwhile, Amplfy going to be on the opposite side of the map, just smoked up themselves, but not going to really be able to find anything.
Dire's top shrine is under attack.
Welp, he'll just go ahead and claim that top shrine on the Dire side. I mean, the thing is, again, Resurgence are in the position now where they just want to fight.
Shrine has fallen.
So they don't really mind putting themselves out there and giving vision to the way of Amplfy. But they will go down and defend that bot lane. And Carl, got to be careful. He does get open wounded up. Not much damage coming out, though. Carl does have a lot of armor there on the Razor. Still, he should be able to get the tier 3, but now an Ice Path comes in. He does have BKB available, though, and he won't pop it quite yet. A Bat as well did just pick up a double damage rune. It is still got a fair bit of time on it. Does he make use of it, though? Carl gets caught out again by the Ice Path, but he'll be okay. So both teams just waiting for the other to make a mistake or make a move. Top lane is being pushed in just by the creep wave, so they're going to start hitting up on the Raxes soon. Meanwhile, Roshan's back up once again. So this is the 4th Roshan of the game now. And you have that Refresher Shard as well as the Aghanim's upgrade coming out. Though Amplfy, they do have to go back and defend a bit before they do opt to go for that Roshan, so a Bat will take care of that. But now you've given Resurgence a chance to actually go into that Roshan pit first, and they may just do it.
Yeah, again, they have the tools to do so. They pretty much have great vision up as well. You don't really have any wards from Amplfy watching this area. So it does look like they will find that Rosh. Don't commit to it just yet. They are playing a bit safe. And again, we are stuck in a pretty much a mirror sort of stalemate. Mid lane, racks are gone. Top, tier 3 gone for Amplfy and no.
They find Ponlo bot lane. No, he does have buyback available. Still a long respawn time for him. I suppose this does open up the Roshan now, and you can force out the buyback from Ponlo. But it looks like they aren't even aware on the side of Amplfy the Roshan's up again. They haven't really scouted it out yet. Only Resurgence are aware of this. So they're going to try and go for the bot Raxes now. Carl, pretty darn tanky. We'll get the range, although Ravage does go in the back lines. They burst down Ryo, and now they go for more. They are taking down JO pretty darn fast, and there's the double Ravage coming out. Abat's still going to be okay with that BKB, though Whelp is just bashing through it. Now Carl just trying to get his way in. Black Hole is there. He finds both of them. The Rubik is in there. Can they burst them down? Omni Slash comes out. They'll get two, but it's not going to be quite enough yet. They'll get another in the Pugna. He'll buy back immediately, as well as that Titan. Now Carl just going to magpie Whelp by himself. He does have the Satanic, but he gets bashed as soon as he commits it, and now Carl going to end up going down. Can they find any more? Not quite. Both of them do back off on the side of Amplfy. There was a buyback coming up from Ryo on the Beastmaster. Meanwhile, BDZ actually got the Refresher Orb on himself as well now. And that did end up being a 3-for-3 trade, though 3 buybacks were expended on the side of Resurgence, and you did have a dieback on the Rubik. And Ryo?
Yeah.
Won't get scouted out, though he doesn't have that invis any longer. Oh, he runs straight into Insidious. There's a lot of heroes, but he BKBs up. Abat jumps in as well after the Pugna. This doesn't look great, though. BDZ does find a massive black hole. He's found 3 of them in there. They get LJSL, and they get Death and Whelp. And so I thought that was a bad initiation coming up from Ryo, John, but he did have help in the background. And now, well, there's only one buyback left, and that's in Whelp. He does commit it straight away, but you're going 2 versus 3 right now. Can you fight into Abat and Carl? And of course BDZ, who's not in the actual Radiant base right now. Meanwhile, Whelp, running to the secret shop, gonna buy a Divine Rapier and TP back, so he's going all in. Goes straight on Abat, go on that jug though. Abyssal comes out from Abat as well. He'll spin away. Now Carl gonna turn around though. Winter's Curse does come out. BDZ has no way to control Whelp apart from that Malefice. Though now Abat jumps back in. That Divine Rapier does nothing, and it's on the deck. Abat picks it up, and that's gonna be a GG. No buyback available for the Lifestealer. And Amplfy, they do take it 57 minutes into this game.
Look, it was a long run. It was very conservative play from both sides. It just took one team fight to really decide that. That was some bravery at the end from Amplfy. Some bravery from BDC. That's all they needed to really have it happen. Just jump in with a black hole. They were all clumped up. Winter's Curse wasn't up. They got the kills they needed. They forced out the buybacks earlier, and that does give Amplfy a good start here as well. The second series going their way, and Resurgence, unfortunately, starting off with 1 loss.
Certainly so, John. With that, we are going to watch Amplfy once again, though this time around they're going to be up against Mineski Gaming for our 3rd series of the day, so that should be a very interesting one. Of course, Mineski looking to be one of the favourites for this SEA closed qualifier, so we'll see how it all pans out. It is MLPDotA and Johnxfire. Should be 5 to 10 minutes before we are back with you for that 3rd game. Won't be too long.